Yo, are you one of those people who like scrolling through real estate listings, maybe watching shows where people find their dream homes? Have you ever thought about turning that into a job? Nah, for real, like seriously getting paid for your passion. Well, as a real estate broker, you can have a flexible work schedule. That means you can make money on the real estate stuff, but then use your scrolling time for other things you love. And if you're like Jacoby, that sounds cool and all, but where do I even start? I got you. Learn how you can get started this summer by visiting realtorsrealestateschool.com/begin. And make sure y'all stay tuned after the interview. CityCast Chicago executive producer Simone Alicea will be having a conversation sponsored by Chicago's Department of Cultural Affairs and Events about the 20th anniversary of Millennium Park. You'll definitely want to stick around. Today on CityCast Chicago, Chicago's Food Truck Festival is ongoing all summer at Daily Plaza in the Loop. You can catch the next one this Friday. But what should you check out while you're there? And while we're at it, where the hell are all of Chicago's food trucks anyway? Eater Chicago editor Ashok Selvam is here with the answers to those questions. It's Wednesday, June 26th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Ashok, welcome back to CityCast.
Oh, it's great to be here. Good to see you.
Out of the gate, I got a big question for you. In terms of diversity, availability, innovation, taste, how would you rate Chicago's food truck scene overall on a little scale of 1 to 5?
Oh, this is brutal. I never want to, criticize the business for trying, but I don't think any of our Chicago food trucks have been put in a position to succeed from our lawmakers. They've been playing from behind for so long. So that's a long-winded way of me saying it's a 2. It's a 2.
The scene is not lacking for, people not wanting to try, for there not being chefs wanting to get into it, innovation. You're already letting us know it's a 2 because, like you said, the system is not set up for these food trucks to succeed.
It's not the customer's fault. It's you see this flourish in other cities. You see, when food trucks, we're in Chicago. So the winter time, it's hard for food trucks to be out there with the snow and the cold. So in the summer, we have a different mindset. We're excited to try these new innovators, these entrepreneurs that are just trying to, start their craft. And, you see Harold's Chicken, you see something like my guy DeAndre Carter with Soul and Smoke. They're doing some awesome stuff, but they're not doing a lot of cooking on board. And it's just a different kind of food truck culture in Chicago because you got to make do with the restrictions. And even though some of those restrictions have been loosened up through those years, you really, they really put a chokehold on the industry to start. I just had a real good conversation with a colleague at Eater Los Angeles about the food truck scene over there. It is vibrant. It is popping. You see long lines that put like the Daily Plaza events to shame. Like I'm talking about a hot dog situation with lines kind of like a maze wrapping around the corner for stuff like the Koji Korean taco food truck. And that just doesn't exist in Chicago because folks were very myopic and short-sighted to start with, and they saw it as threats to the brick and mortar restaurant industry.
Let's go through this timeline a little bit because obviously food trucks are like not new. Like everybody grew up with like an ice cream truck, for example. But the food truck scene as we know it really got popping around the country in like the 2010s. They were trendy spots to eat, but also an avenue, as you've mentioned already, for like food entrepreneurs, chefs who wanted to get into the game. But they never really proliferated in Chicago the way they did in other cities. Take us through the timeline of how the laws came out here. Why weren't we able to ride that wave in the same way?
Chicago is, as much as it's an innovative, city when it comes to restaurants, when it comes to food trucks and also like street food vendors in general, like we got to take it back even to the street food vendors because you don't see hot dog stands on the streets of Chicago like you would see in New York and Los Angeles and DC. As much as we love our hot dogs, there were politicians in the 70s and 80s that just thought that these were nuisances. They were ways to attract folks that would loiter, and they were just a way to clean up the city to kind of avoid that stereotypic, scene of Times Square in New York, was to just rid Chicago of street food vendors. And it's been that's extended to food trucks. They saw them as threats and unfair to the folks that would have brick and mortars that would pay taxes, pay for their expensive leases downtown. They saw this as a threat to circumvent that. The National Restaurant Association, let me remind you, is based in Chicago, was founded decades ago, and there's strong roots in protecting kind of the status quo. And I could be sympathetic toward that because you want the so-called equal playing ground, but folks need to understand Chicago lost its chance of seeing that the food trucks and street carts as parts of the food scene that could complement these traditional restaurants. And whether it is restrictive parking regulations where you can't dock a food truck in a downtown building, saying that, oh, this is a traffic concern, we don't want cars to stack up, this is a nuisance. There was never a real kind of safe spot for food trucks to kind of hang out. And when it comes to consumer behavior, if they can't find you, then what's the point? You're just going to go to the traditional restaurants that they know and they love without trying anything different.
I mean, blocking food trucks from parking within 200 feet of a brick and mortar restaurant, only allowing them to run for so many hours. I mean, currently it's 4, it used to be 2. I also believe the city makes sure that food trucks have to be tracked via GPS to make sure they're in certain places. I mean, is there any evidence in other cities that allowing food trucks to proliferate wherever to park close to brick and mortars, that takes away from the restaurant industry, the restaurant scene in a given city?
No. I mean, some of our best restaurants in LA, they started as trucks and they kind of graduated in that way because, LA is, a little bit more sprawly than in Chicago, perhaps. But no, there's no evidence that this hurt, business. I mean, I think ultimately the restaurants wanted the control.
I mean, right now you might see food trucks parked in a line competing for space outside of the Art Institute, like right on Monroe, off of Michigan. You'll definitely see them on the Southwest side and frequently around other parts of the city. You mentioned parks earlier. Why don't you think food trucks have been able to succeed in places that maybe don't have large concentrations of restaurants sort of pushing back?
The Park District is a really kind of tricky taxing body to navigate because on their they have their own contracts with their own vendors to sell food and drink on their own on their own spaces. A good prominent example right now is Castaways on North Avenue Beach, which is run by the Stefani Restaurant Group. That you just can't come in and kind of sell without kind of paying your taxes, you're paying your dues.
Y'all, I'm still trying to decide who I'm gonna see at Ravinia this summer. In case y'all don't know, let me put you on. Ravinia is North America's longest running outdoor music festival, and they offer over 100 concerts from June to September. And seriously, there is something for everybody. What you like? Classical music, they got you. Musical theater, got you. Pop, folk, hip-hop, R&B, oldies, contemporary, dance, even movies, you will find a concert for you. Me personally, I'm down to 2 choices and I need y'all help. It's either gonna be The Roots on Saturday, August 24th or TLC and Shaggy on Saturday, August 31st. You know what, I'm probably gonna see both. Any excuse to pack myself a little picnic and enjoy Ravinia's lawn. I can even ride the Metro up there for free with my ticket. So pick your show and buy your tickets now, only at ravinia.org.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Throughout the pandemic, we brought you in to talk about how it impacted Chicago's restaurant scene. What was the impact for food trucks in the city?
Well, a couple of restaurants. I'm thinking of Jason Vincent of Giant in Logan Square. They were so
One of my favorites.
scrambling. Yeah, they were scrambling for solutions. And with dining halls closed because of pandemic policies, that they started their own food trucks, thinking that this would be a lifeline to help a little bit, but they were even hurt because they just kind of discovered the restrictions, including at one point Vincent made a plea to hope like for a temporary lift on liquor sales, so to allow him to sell liquor from his truck. It's not that easy, but he was unable to kind of push for that. So the food truck, he was serving pizza from it. It folded. So this was a prime example, and I'm so glad you brought that up, of how food trucks should have been booming. But instead, we saw delivery boom. We saw DoorDash. We saw Grubhub. We saw Uber Eats. All companies excluding Uber Eats that the city of Chicago has filed lawsuits against for unfair labor practices and a bunch of other things, a bunch of allegations. And we allowed them to flourish while the local food trucks, they were kind of left to their own devices.
I mean, the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection told us that in 2023, there were just 95 licensed food trucks, down from 183 in 2020 and 274 in 2019. Do you see us ever returning to those highs that we saw just 5 years ago?
Not without radical progressive policy changes. What has kind of replaced food trucks in Chicago hearts have been food courts. Food courts kind of give customers a food truck experience indoors, and they let chefs open their own businesses without less risk. They're not paying for lease, they're not paying for water, they're not paying for utilities. It gives them a little bit of a chance, but food halls aren't doing too well. There are massive changes at Time Out Chicago. They've gone through a couple of management changes. There've been closures on the Fulton Market West Loop. Politan Row folded right during the pandemic in 2020, and so did the second one, Fulton Galley. Downtown, basically across the street from Daily Plaza, Urban Space, another food hall, has seen a lot of changeover and has been sold and now is no longer operated by the New York group that brought them to Chicago, and it's an independent too. So there's a lot of shakiness. We're not gonna Chicago just never had a golden age of food trucks, and that's just a shame because there's so many innovations. There's such diversity in cultures and cuisine that it could have happened. They could have happened, and there's an appetite for that as well. There's no doubt. But instead, I love that you see the occasional food truck fair, but now those spaces, there's just not much of a commitment because so much can go wrong, and you need someone really invested to kind of undo, the restrictions and the environment that has developed over the decades. When preparing for this interview, I was just trying to come up with the 5 new food trucks that I've checked out or I've heard buzz about, and I couldn't think of any. Not to say that the restaurant industry, traditional restaurants, it's paradise or anything. There's a lot of struggles, and it's such a low profit margin, and rate of success is low. But food trucks, it's just like what's the point?
So if you can find one, or you're listening to this conversation and you're like, you know what? There is a need here. I want to break in. What do you think makes a food truck work well and worth visiting when it is hitting? Like, is it the kind of food? Is it the gimmick, the location? What makes it pop?
Consistency. I mean, it's not that different from a traditional restaurant. You need consistency. You need a daily, when you have just a few minutes, a few seconds with your customer service takes on a whole different beast. Make sure you have your menus where people can actually see them. They're not squinting. You know what's on the menu. You're using socials to tell us where you are at, what you're serving, what's selling out, and that's a lot of work, because then you have to actually come up and make sure the food tastes good too. And under those conditions, make sure that you have enough oil. So make sure the workers are treated well. You know how long they're going to be out there. And yeah, certain foods do well than others. I mean, barbecue travels exceptionally well. Fried chicken, I think that's the most exciting thing for me, seeing Harold's, such a big part of Chicago, translate into a food truck, because that's the entrepreneur's spirit. But also it bugs me that it takes such a big brand, and Harold's is definitely a brand, to get that attention. It shouldn't be like that.
Hey, I like the barbecue at Jamrock. I've seen them out in Pullman a couple of times, a few times on the south side. Usually got jerk chicken. I've seen Kiss by Fire barbecue and pizza around the city, whether it's at like a Taste of Chicago event, at one of the food truck festivals. Can you think of what's the best thing you've eaten from a food truck in Chicago in the last couple of years?
The best thing that I kind of had was I can't remember. It was at Daily. It was just a cup of really good chai. And I know that's not a lot of like food preparation, but you can brew chai. You need to have all the ingredients, and it's kind of like, we're not just talking about food. Drinks, good drinks, especially hot drinks, have a future on trucks, and maybe that's a way they can kind of get around ordinances and the kind of policies that the city makes it difficult. But just like really good, like it wasn't spectacular. It wasn't like something I couldn't get at a restaurant, but it was there. I could just walk up and get it, and it was on like kind of an unexpected. And I think that's I've used that word a couple times. Food trucks kind of they started like servicing construction centers. They were really reliable. You get your sandwiches, you get your pizza, and they've kind of changed and transformed. The best experience of food trucks are the ones that you don't expect.
Are there any other places beyond Daily Plaza in the Loop that people can find food trucks regularly?
It's this is ridiculous, but farmers markets, especially Logan Square's farmers markets, have shifted their focus from produce to being places like basically glorified food courts. They take elements of shopping malls and make that outside and turn it into kind of a street festival atmosphere. But you'll see food trucks coming in and out. And I know Logan Square's chamber has tried to organize food trucks. So farmers markets are becoming a place, if they're large enough, that food trucks can post up, and reliable spaces.
Is there a place where they list the vendors out from Daily Plaza? The Fat Shallot, classic sandwiches.
Oh, Fat Shallot, so good. So good.
Have you had anything from them?
Their grilled cheese is one of the best in the city. Yeah, they opened a couple of brick and mortars. They were in food halls. They have a restaurant in Lincoln Park near Clark and Fullerton. So if I want a grilled cheese and a tomato soup, that's where you go. And those are the type of foods that translate brilliantly into a food truck.
The Cocinita?
La Cocinita. I knew they sounded familiar because they were in Evanston. They have a restaurant in Evanston, and I think I may have written a story about them in like 2017 or 2018.
If you go down there, they got arepas.
The empanadas, probably.
The Caribbean Bowl. gonna pull up on Daily Plaza. So yeah, it's definitely a few staples still out there doing it big. If folks go to the Chicago Business Affairs and Consumer Protection socials, it looks like they are posting it weekly. I was able to find their post from last week. Mexican Snack was out there, Ice Cream Social, Uncle Remus, El Azteca, Chi-Town Favorites, and a few other spots are going to be out there for the rest of the summer. Obviously, Ashok, we want to get that number up from a 2, but we appreciate you making time for CityCast Chicago as always, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, enjoy the air, enjoy the summer, and get some food truck foods because we need it.
Up next, we've got a segment sponsored by Chicago's Department of Cultural Affairs and Events. It's Millennium Park's 20th anniversary this month, and we're talking with D-Case's Mariam Cham about all the ways to celebrate. Simone, take it away.
Hey, I'm executive producer Simone Alicea here with Mariam Cham, Program Director of Performing Arts at the Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Events, aka D-Case. Mariam, can you tell me what is D-Case and what is your role there?
Sure. So D-Case is our nickname. So it stands for the City of Chicago's Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. So we do multiple things, but mainly we support artists and cultural organizations. We invest in the creative economy and we expand access and participation in the arts throughout Chicago's 77 neighborhoods. And so within my role here at D-Case, I'm the Program Director of Performing Arts. So I work with a small and mighty team that collaboratively produces many of the city's best iconic events.
Well, we're here today because Millennium Park is turning 20 years old. It's almost hard to believe. This is really the jewel of Chicago's downtown. Mariam, I'm curious, do you have a favorite memory from Millennium Park?
I have so many. I was like, it's so difficult to choose one, but I think some of my favorite memories have been a lot of the dance companies that we featured over the years. So Hubbard Street, and we had Future Kings one year. And then last year with the Millennium Park Summer Music Series, we had the opportunity, the great honor to give a tribute to the iconic jazz pianist, Ramsey Lewis, and hold his tribute concert. So that was just electrifying in the Pritzker Pavilion.
Yeah, I think most Chicagoans know that the summer programming, it always hits at Millennium Park. It's always great. I am there pretty much every summer, at least one time. So let's start with some of the old standbys. What's coming back this summer that people can expect?
Yeah, so excited that the Chicago Gospel Music Festival is returning and also the Chicago House Music Festival. So those will actually take place on the same weekend, June 1st for Gospel Fest, and the Chicago House Music Festival is coming back on Sunday, June 2nd. We invite everyone to come join us in the park. We have a great family-friendly event taking place that day in partnership with Slow Mo and Kiddos. So that'll be our Queer Fam Pride Jam.
Another one that I'm excited about, too, is the Chicago Blues Festival. This is something that, my dad travels from Hawaii to come and join me for. It's also celebrating a birthday, right?
Absolutely. It's turning 40 years. So 40 years our special number for this summer. So the Chicago Blues Festival, it's a globally attractive event. We're so glad that your dad is coming to join us. And we do think that he'll really enjoy this year's festival. It's going to take place in Millennium Park and also a special Thursday kickoff at Ramova Theater. And so what's really great about that event, so let your dad know that he will see one of Buddy Guy's last performances. So we're really excited to feature that on Sunday, June 9th. So it's going to be a great time in the park.
You mentioned the Queer Fam Pride Jam, but all of the events are family friendly, right?
Absolutely. All the events are family friendly for all ages. And so we have a lot of activations that happen on site specifically for children, but then also we understand that adults need breaks with their kids so they can visit any of our food vendors on site and visit the beautiful spaces that are just nice to enjoy in the park.
So in addition to those music festivals and music series, films in the park coming to Millennium Park, this is also, like we said, the 20th anniversary. So y'all are putting on a special 4-day celebration from July 18th through July 21st. Mariam, what's happening during those 4 days?
Yeah, so these are 4 jam-packed days in Millennium Park. And as we mentioned, all ages are welcome. And so Thursday, July 18th, we're partnering 2 of our really great programs, the Millennium Park Summer Music Series in Subalo. And so that will feature Fruco Isutesos. And so they're really a strong band that has 60 years of music making experience. So really invite everyone to join us out in the park for that. On Friday, July 19th, Grand Park Orchestra will be presenting Star Wars and more. On Saturday, July 20th, really excited about this. We'll have family-friendly activations happening in the North Promenade from 11 to 5. And so those will be art making and experiences of dance and music. But then also that evening, Grand Park Music Festival in partnership with DCASE will be presenting Common. And Sunday, we're going to continue with family-friendly programming throughout the day. But then that evening, we're welcoming back a special guest to the park. So that'll be Steve Silcurley, who actually performed when the park opened 20 years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is going to be curated in partnership with his partner, Shannon Skip Says. And so it'll be a highlight of multiple acts that he's worked with over the years. So you'll definitely see a few of your favorites. And we're announcing that very soon. So more to come.
That sounds really special to bring back someone who performed at the original opening. But I gotta say, the one I am definitely looking forward to is the Grand Park Orchestra. I've seen them perform so many times over the years at Millennium Park doing. I really like musicals, so I've seen them do the pops and the different programs there. But I definitely know some Star Wars fans who are gonna be into that.
Grand Park Music Festival never disappoints. They always keep this really innovative and fresh programming. So we definitely know people will have fun this summer.
So that is a lot that is going on. How can Chicagoans stay up to date on all the great performances and activities coming to Millennium Park during this 20th anniversary?
Absolutely. So we welcome everyone to visit us at millenniumpark.org to stay up to date with all the current events and in real time find out what's happening.
Mariam Cham is the program director for the Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us, and I look forward to seeing you in the park this summer.
And if you're sad you missed some of the events we talked about earlier this month, you are definitely going to want to check out the calendar for the rest of the summer. Again, that link for you, millenniumpark.org. You can also find it in our show notes.
Before we let you go, one more thing. Stay tapped into our website, chicago.citycast.fm, for the latest events, headlines, neighborhood guides, and more. And we'll send you all these things to your inbox every morning, Monday through Friday, for free. All you got to do is subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Chicago. Of course, I got some good news for you. The Chicago Sky are celebrating Pride Night tomorrow as they take on the Las Vegas Aces and my MVP frontrunner, Asia Wilson. It's going to be a game, y'all. You can catch it on Prime Video. As always, we appreciate you for listening. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.